Not a sound, no wind. This is what you look for. About 10, 11, 12 feet up, give or take, we're going to run a cable. Well, welcome to another weekend here up at the land. Coming up on a Friday evening to slide into the tree stand. And then pretty much going to be a hunting weekend. Left the majority of stuff in the car. I'll get that after dark. About 5 o'clock now. Gets dark around 7. Going to go up in that stand in which we put up last week. Have had some activity when the trail camera has fired off pictures through the app. It's in an area where just not that good of a signal right now for the trail camera. But I did get one image, I think it was Wednesday evening. So let me get things settled here and get back with you. It's going to be a hunting weekend, some food, nothing's fancy. Up here on a Friday evening, get head out to the tree stand, the one that we put up last week, and see if we can get the elusive white-tailed deer and put some meat in the freezer. Absolutely beautiful evening, 61 degrees, low tonight 36, high tomorrow I think 71. Not a sound, no wind. This is what you look for. It is dry as can be, high fire warnings around, so you'll be able to hear every little thing that walks through. So I will get to the stand, which is about 80 yards across the way here, and I'll see you up in the stand once I get situated. Quiet out there. When I walked into camp, the leaves just echoed on the trees. Dry, extremely dry. So if something was going to walk in, I would have heard it. Even if I wouldn't have seen it, I would have heard it first. So, going to go back out to that same stand. I left the bow hanger and the strap that goes around the tree that hooks onto my safety harness on the tree. I'll go out there in the morning. I did pull the SD card that was on that camera right below the stand. I want to see what's on that because I know not everything that was, I know there's more pictures than what was sent through the app. That's just the reality of it. I'll be extremely surprised if there's not. As we know, we had that one deer Wednesday evening at 6:22, and I'll see what else. Comes or is on that camera. I'll go out to that stand tomorrow morning, and then I'll kind of evaluate what to do after that if I don't see anything. So that's the advantage of coming up on a Friday night. I get an extra bonus hunt, 2 bonus hunts, realistically. Yeah, two. I double my hunt time, double my sitting time, because I'm going Friday night, Saturday night. Otherwise, it's Saturday night, Sunday morning. So I'm gonna get undressed, change, get this stuff in the tote, and get the scent wafer back on it. I gotta still go down to the car, which is one trip, and bring everything up. Gonna have deer burgers, or a deer burger, and probably, I don't know if I brought carrots or not. Maybe I did. I had canned carrots, and I don't know if I brought those. I'll show you what I got whenever I get that going. Tonight, 36 for the low. Gonna be, I would assume, frost. So I gotta get the stove going in here because I do want it to be warm. And I'll get the fire going just enough to cook. Not going to sit out there. I'll come in here, enjoy the tent. Appreciate you coming along. Too bad we didn't have something more exciting to show this evening. But 3 more times we can try it. Okay, made the venison burger. I've got sour cream chips and a little blueberry pie, and I am in for the night. I just had the fire going enough to which it could cook the burger. I'm gonna see what's on TV, which won't be anything, and then eat, and I'll come back and I'll show you if I find anything on that SD card that I've got that I pulled underneath that tree stand. Okay, so I was looking through. There's a lot, there's probably 10 or 15 pictures that I never got through the app just because the signal was weak. The stand in which I was in tonight, there was the Wednesday night that was a doe that went through, and it did show me a little bit more. I'll show you here how it's walking. So I'd kind of walk in front of the tree stand a little bit, and then I put this up last Sunday afternoon, and whatever day the night, and last Sunday night, 1839. What is that? 8:39? No, that's not right. At 6 o'clock or something like that in the evening, had a doe walk. And you can see that here, walked right in front of the camera, looked at the camera, big doe. She's been on other cameras, or at least, I think, hopefully we've got 5 or 6 or 8 big does out there that I can take, my pick of. So, there is activity there, this one doe, but you got to do it. So I'll go out there tomorrow morning, and if I don't see anything, then I'm going to go to the other stand that I was in last week, that all the activity was, that I heard that deer snort. And then I'll figure out what to do then. So, alright. Well, if nothing else happens, I will see you in the morning. Again, this is more of a deer hunting weekend. More than anything, I've got to do some measurements of the tent for a tarp that will hang on a cable so we don't take the tent down. I'll explain more of that tomorrow and the company that we're working with. So, got Best of Realtree Road Trip 6 on. Um, and then I got the stove going, 60 degrees in the tent, got the ridge light on in the front tent. So, that's what we know. Also in the morning, that is the start of Wisconsin's youth firearm weekend, Saturday and Sunday. So I have to wear orange, which is not a big deal. Calling for 36 tonight, and that may help. Well, cold morning, about 36. The phone showed 38, so it'd be about 30, 38, 36. When I came out of the tent, had 56 in the tent. It was chilly in the tent. Let the fire go out. Haven't seen anything. Sunrise was 6:24. Legal hunting time was 6:24. And about 7:15, when the wind started kicking up, and I thought maybe something would move then, but haven't seen anything. And like I said last night, that trail camera had that doe a couple of times on it, right in front of it, and 15 yards that way on that trail. So there's a frontal system moving in this evening. It's supposed to have thunderstorms tonight around 10 to 11. So I'm going to go into that stand that I was in last weekend, that all the deer were around the previous week. I want to pull the trail camera data this afternoon, mid-afternoon, when nothing's moving around, and see what's on that one, because I know it's going to be the same as this one, where a lot of pictures weren't taken. So that's where we're at. Thought this would be a little more active this morning. But also I was watching last night Realtree Road Trips Best of Season 6, which would have been 2008, I guess, give or take. And Michael Waddell was in Kansas for 7 days, hunted 7 days straight in Kansas, never pulled the bow back. You gotta wait for the opportunity, like last year. Saw 3 deer total while bow hunting. 2 does behind me on one stand, and then that spiked buck. Pulled back 1 time last year, shot 1 time, harvested 1 deer. I'd much rather do that than fling arrows at deer and miss them, or wound them and not be able to get them. So we'll see if tonight does any better. Really nice morning. Besides, I was underestimated the cold factor. It's quite chilly right now. So I'll head back to the tent in a few minutes. And got some projects there that I want to do. back at camp. Quite windy, which forecast for 20-mile-an-hour winds today. Starting to warm up, still 55 in the tent. Outside here, let's take a gander and see what the old camp thermometer tells us. About 54, 55. Yeah, so just feels cooler in the tent. So it's mid-morning. I stayed in the stand about 45 minutes after I last talked to you about getting down because it was nice, but based on the camera, that is an evening stand potentially. But I'm not going to do another set on that tonight. What I'm going to do is, in a few minutes or a little while, head out and pull the data off that other camera, switch the battery on it, just to make sure it's a fresh new battery. I'll put a charge on the one I got in here, and then take the computer out, pull that data, come back, analyze it, and see if I should go to that stand this evening or the other stand. So we're in the Northwoods of Wisconsin. It's early October. Very nice. It's not frigid like they talked about a couple of weeks ago. I was sweating in the stand, but the cold days will be coming, and we're still bow camp, and then it'll be deer camp for firearm, and then muzzleloader camp for muzzleloader. So do appreciate you hanging out with me. Some of this content may not be what some people want to watch. It's not hot tent camping or weekend trip camping. It's more of a hunting trip, hunting camping. So alright, I've put the flag up from emflag.com. Nice. That looks good. Blowing in the very strong wind behind the sun. So I got the battery charged up, and I'm going to head out. I got the computer. I'm going to head out and pull the data from that camera, replace the battery, come back and analyze the footage, see what's out there that we're not getting images of due to cell service issues, not with the Tacticam, just in general with the low signal, the signal availability. And then regroup, and by that time it'll probably be, or relax a little bit, and then it'll be lunch by then. So I'll see you out at the trail camera. The nice thing about it being really windy is I can sneak in, sneak out. Nothing's going to hear me. The disadvantage tonight, when it's 25-mile-an-hour winds, is being rocked in the tree, and also scent control, and have to have your head on a swivel, because this morning if something walked in within 100 yards, you're going to hear it. I could hear squirrels all over the place, in which I thought was deer, and then it was a squirrel. But that also is an advantage too, because scent would be blowing in depending on what stand and with the wind direction, and they can't hear you as you stand there and trying to get a shot. You can sway back and forth with the tree, and they think that you are part of the tree. I mean, when you stand just still, that kind of throws them a little bit, but if you kind of rock back and forth with the motion of the tree, I've seen hunters do that, and it has given them that opportunity where the deer is like, something's not right, but I don't know what it is, so I'm going to continue on with my normal activities. Put their head down, you draw back, and then you instantly aim, shoot. There's no prep or, wait, you fire off, especially on these does, which are really skittish to begin with. Alright, got the data pulled, waiting for the camera to turn on and connect. Got the extended antenna on it. It seems to have helped. As the leaves drop, we're going to get a better signal. We did last year, so we'll see how this one's very good most of the time. The other one is intermittent. The extended antenna certainly does help, but we're just in such a remote area, which at the tent, you're looking at 1 bar. Sweet spot, you get 2 bars. Dry air, you get a good signal. Like last night, I could do anything I wanted to on the internet. Moisture in the air has a significant impact on it, so that's just the reality of what we're dealing with. Alright, searching for GPS signal, so we should be fairly close here. Okay, so I reviewed the pictures, and I am not going to hunt that stand tonight. I'm going to hunt the stand that I was in last week, because there has not been deer activity in front of this stand that I just pulled the data from for over 10 days. Now this morning at 6:50 a.m. a coyote went through, so we're going to go to that other stand tonight and that other stand tomorrow morning, the one that we hunted in last week from the prior week with all the activity from the week before, or from 2 weeks ago. And I'm sure there's more activity there. Just I've got to pull a camera. I've only got a limited amount of cameras, so that's the plan for tonight. Just gonna kind of sit here watching Best of Realtree Road Trip Season 7. Really windy right now, so I'm gonna go out that stand anyway, because you can't shoot. Typically deer do not walk through the tent for me to harvest, at least at this point in the property life. Okay, so I said yesterday or earlier in the video about working with a company in order to not have to take this tent down. If you remember or you watched the 2023 Deer Camp the movie that came out last November, at the end of that, before I left for the winter, took the front tent down. We only had the front tent. So I took all of the front tent down, all the components in the front tent down to the ground, and then packed it in waste management bags right here, and then wrapped it with a tarp and walked away. Fine and dandy, but it was a pain to do, took extra time, and then in the spring we had to come in and we put it all back up and all this stuff, and we've added another tent. Okay. The project is this tree here, that tree back there. Yes, at an angle. Nothing straight. Tent wasn't put in straight with the trees. It was put in straight with what we've got here. About 10, 11, 12 feet up, give or take, we're going to run a cable to that tree back there. So it's going to be at an angle. Be about here. So it's going to go from there to the tree behind me. 3/16, half inch. I don't know yet what kind of cable. We're going to fasten it, not to the tree, but wrap it around and clamp it to itself on both ends. Going to need about 73 foot when it calculates. That's going to be above the tent about 4 to 6 foot. I haven't quite figured out how above the tent it is, but it's going to look like an A-frame at an angle. The purpose of this, and it's going to be, the tarp is going to be 40 foot long by 30 foot wide. So we go up enough and it comes down on both sides, and we affix it to the ground, or we tie it to logs so it does not move very much. And it's going to look like an A-frame, both sides, along that ridge line, to shed the snow off. So there is a gap between, and it's open in front and back. So there's a gap. Top of my fingers here would probably be as it comes down. This is all kind of custom done. So then the wind can go through, but when it snows, the compaction of the snow is not on the tent itself. Yes, we will have the support beams throughout the entire tent. Down the center beam, and then across in between each rafter. So when the tarp is like this on that ridge beam, on that cable, and then fixated, either tied to the tree, we'll put stakes in the ground, really get it taut, but not so tight that it would cause issue. It snows, the snow hits that, and because of the angle, it should slide off more than when it hits the tarp, or when it snowed and it hit the tent here. So that is the concept. And that ridge line is going to be strong enough that if it builds up, it's going to push down, hang on the ridge line, and then also hang on here. So yeah, we may have a little bow of snow until it warms up and melts, but it takes the pressure off the tent, even though down the center we'll have those ridge beams or posts like I have behind the bed here, all the way down, and in between each one of these rafters will be another log or a small stick pushing up, keeping the tension off of the metal rafters, and then the frame here that I put in that's between the two tents. So it's an engineering feat. It's obviously going to be lower right here and on the back corner because we're at an angle than if we were straight on, and we could do it perfectly A-frame, but it's one of these things we're going to have to modify as we go. The precise measurements is 40 foot long by 30 foot. Possibly, which I don't want to do anymore, and I know I'm rambling here, but if I do more than 30 foot, 15 off the ridge on both sides, if I do, like, let's say I did 40 foot wide and I did 20 off, it's going to get to the point where you're going to have a bow here. It's just naturally going to kind of give a little bit. So, okay, I'm going to eat. What I'm going to eat is rice, red beans, and rice. I'm going to start the fire just enough to heat the can, and cook it in the can and eat it. And then I'm going to relax, because in the last 20 some odd weeks I've really not had that. I mean, I've relaxed as I've been doing projects up here, but it just, you can't get a better day than today, even with the wind. The wind just kind of adds that ambiance of it's getting to be fall, it's relaxing. If you knew there wasn't going to be bear or coyote or raccoons or whatever, you'd sleep in the hammock. I don't know how some of you guys sleep in the hammock in the middle of the woods and have no concern of critters and animals coming in and investigating who you are. Hats off to you. I want a tent, or at least some kind of structure that gives me some kind of false security. I cut the rest of the support post that I need for between the rafters. I'm just cleaning up any knobs and knots or pokey things that are coming out, so when you grab it, you're not going to get poked. Or where old limbs was. So I've got all the pieces I need for that. That's done. So I brought up, found 8 more logs, or small limbs for between the rafters to push up the tent before the big tarp goes on and even after. So there is the completion of all the support pieces that I need for the tent. 16 between the rafters, and then was there 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9 down the center. So it's right around 3 o'clock. About 65 degrees, probably closer in the tent here at 62, so it's probably about 68 or so outside, almost 70. So you got to go out. That's just part of the game here. Really windy, but deer do move in the wind. It doesn't appear that it's going to calm down like it's dark, like sometimes it would. We got a front moving in, we got rain moving in. Supposedly, I have not seen the radar, but that's what everybody is saying. So maybe that will do some good. There's benefits to the wind, and there's not benefits to the wind. So I will see you in the tree stand. It is windy, really rocking up here, but I know deer move in the wind. I just don't know how much. That's what I came up here for, was to hunt, not sit in the tent on a windy day. So we'll see what happens. Well, that was a no-go. It did. There was pockets of real windy and then no wind and real windy and no. So I'm going to go back out to that stand in the morning. I didn't leave anything out there because we're supposed to get rain overnight, and I didn't want my safety harness belt that wraps around the tree to get wet. And if something happens and it's out there and I'm not, it's going to sit out there because I'm not going to go get it. Sounds like rain right now. Yeah. Alright, so that being said, I'll finish up this. I'm going to get the campfire going just quick enough in order to cook, and then I'll finish the story. Trying to finish up my deer burger and water for mashed potatoes before the rain comes. This all, I mean, everybody was talking about it, but all of a sudden I'm out here getting the fire going, and I was talking to you, and I heard little drops on the roof of the tent, and here we are. Can't get the radar to come up, so I don't know how close we are. Probably very close. So I'm going to try to get this cooked and get inside, get everything turned on so I'm done out here. Well, I made it. I think it's pretty cooked. I gotta fix it up, and then I gotta make the mashed potatoes. I can do that in this bowl here. So, well, deer burger and then instant mashed potatoes, the Walmart kind. If you're not familiar, I think it's 98 cents. Now there's fewer options, but the options they have are very good. This is 98 cents versus $1.41. And if you're doing like this kind of backpack camping or permanent camping like we are, tent, why spend the extra 43 cents unless you want something very specific? So I'm going to eat that and eat this. Oh, I'll finish up the story about the deer because I didn't get that done. You should be able to hear me over the rain. Didn't see anything, didn't hear anything. The wind would die down a little bit at times, and right at dark, it kind of really suppressed quite a bit. Heard a couple squirrels, which I thought were deer. So last year, I sat in the stand, sat in a tree stand 72 hours to harvest 3 deer last year. Out of those 72 hours, I heard 1 deer, didn't see it, saw a total of 5 and harvested 3, and those 3 were harvested out of 1 stand and 2 were standing in the same spot. So far this year I've heard 1, not seen any, and I think I'm somewhere around 20 hours or something. I'm keeping track. 2, 4, 6, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 and a half hours, give or take a little bit. And we're in the 4th weekend of archery season, so that's where we're at. If anything happens, I'll catch you up. I think I'll start the fire. I'll let you know what's going on. Otherwise, I probably will just see you in the tree stand in the morning. Well, it's almost 9 o'clock. Wind's really starting to pick up. It's supposed to get quite windy this afternoon. It was pretty calm there for a while when I got in the stand till about 15-20 minutes ago. Not necessarily a strikeout because the game's not over. But first time I had a deer in a different location, I had it on camera while I was in a different location on the property. So I'm going to give it a few more minutes. I've called, I've rattled. I know there's deer here. We got them on camera underneath this stand. I've got about 3 different bucks and 3 does that have been underneath this stand in the last 2 weeks. So it's a good sign that that deer or that doe is underneath that other stand. That means that our location setup is correct, that I found that trail and put it that stand 15 yards off that trail, similar to this logging road here. So I'm going to get down here in a few minutes. I'm going to walk up to where that's past where that stand is that I harvested all the deer last year from, and go back beyond that and see if they're another 50 or 80 yards and see if there would be a good stand location. I've got 2 more tree stands in the storage tent and enough steps at the house back home to put those 2 up. So I might as well give myself more options and see if I can find a tree that would be adequate for. Beautiful morning. Supposed to be a high of 65 today. Currently it's about 50, so that's where we're at. A weekend of hunting. You got to put the stand time in order to find the deer. It's just that we just don't have a transition area on our property going from food to bedding that I'm aware of. I mean, the food source is just the vegetation on the ground that we see the deer eat on camera. But there's no distinct like alfalfa field or clover field or something where they're going and then coming back. Well, I've been walking around and I came back to the stand in which we were at yesterday morning, and there's the trail camera. And then as I was walking up here, about 50 yards up there, saw 2 does take off running. So clearly it was one that was on that trail camera this morning. And then they took off to your right. I was looking for another spot for a tree stand. So that's kind of a disappointment. Didn't see anything out of that stand. Made a loop looking for other trees to hang tree stands on, and it might be a couple back there. And then ended up circling back to the stand that you saw we were in yesterday morning and Friday night, and then kicked up that doe and that large fawn, or that yearling. I don't think I spooked them too bad, but one of them was in front of the camera this morning. And if you've hunted at all, the challenge, it's hard enough. It's challenging enough in order to get in position and draw back without them seeing you. It's even more of a challenge to get in position and draw back when you have 2 or 3 or 4 deer in the area. It's different with a firearm. You just kind of pull up, there's no movement. So leave the cameras where they're at for this week. If I had a 3rd camera, I'd put it underneath the stand that we were in this morning. Then 3 out of the 4 tree stands would have cameras underneath them. So, but I don't have that option. I am going to get changed. I am going to get the fire going and cook the last deer burger I have, and then take that with me. I'm not going to hang out here all day. I'm going to head home. It's gotten very, very windy. Windier than it was last night. They're gusted up to 25 miles an hour. And when you're in that tree last night, it was times where it was a little uncomfortable. Not dangerous, just felt like you're on a boat. So I got to get the tent back into order and go home and reevaluate. As disappointing as it was to see those deer on the ground when I was walking around, glad I'm not in the tree stand now, because it is really whipping wind. Kind of almost looks like rain. I gotta see if I can pull the radar up. Get the fire going here, cook that last deer burger, and then start packing things up. Leaving a little early today because I've got here early this week. Let's put tarp in the comments below to let me know that the 4 of you that made it this far, since we will be adding a tarp for winter protection over the tent. No deer this week, maybe next week. Appreciate you tuning in, checking us out, liking and subscribing. So until next week, we'll see you then.